Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's time for an update on the Imperial Field Knife project. Here's what I've been up to. So when we last left off, I'd had the knives cut and milled, which are like this. This is in fact how they will come in the standard kit, which is ready to be finished. Now I decided to have a little play with the finishing on these because I want to be able to offer different finishes on them. Firstly, I wanted to make it look like a knife, and knives tend to have bevels and a sharp edge. Now I don't want these to have a sharp edge, I don't want them to be functional knives, but I did want to play with putting a bevel on the edge. So I bought myself a new bench sander. As you can see, the water jet cut finish on these blades is not great. It's almost like a sandy kind of finish, which is really not that nice, and you will need to finish it if you buy a kit. But I wanted to put a bevel on these and use my new tool. I used a disc sander on it and set the table on it to 45 degrees. I scribed a line halfway through the material, which was my line to sand to. If I kept it even on the sander and sanded at 45 degrees, they'd make a nice even bevel and meet in the middle. Now the result of this sanding is a little rough, so I then went in with some sandpaper and hand sanded for a while. There will be multiple options on this for the finishing, but I went in on my one. This is going to be my personal blade, and it's the one I'm experimenting on. I went in and sanded the hell out of this with some sandpaper files, going up the grit, and got it to this really nice finish. I'm so happy with how this is looking at the moment. The whole thing is nice and smooth. It doesn't cut, the tip's pointy, because it kind of has to be to get that nice profile. But oh wow, oh I love feeling this thing, it's so good. I mean, it looks really nice with the bevel, but it's not gonna cut you. Yeah, I'm so happy with how these are looking. Look at it. I also wanted to play with some finishing techniques on the guard. In the design it is black, and with aluminium you can use a chemical dye to chemically turn it black. Now this is how the guards come, with that water jet cut finish. They do have that rough sandy like texture, so I went ahead and sanded these as well. After sanding this smooth, I put it in for a few minutes. You have to be really careful with this. Use gloves and a respirator. It's really nasty stuff. But yeah, I left it in there for a little while, then brought it out and neutralized it. I then let this sit in some gun oil for a little while. I think it absorbed a lot of that oil, but it sort of helps treat the metal, I think, and help that aluminium black to stick. I then went ahead and sanded it back with some really high grit sandpaper, which was about a 1200, and it's left quite a nice smooth finish. I think I'm going to have another go or two in doing the rounds of aluminium black to see if we can get a really nice polished black finish on this. All about experimentation, and this is on its way. Now the handles. My machine has finally finished the handle for me. It is over here. This is my metal master for the handle. It's very nicely turned. We've had a little issues at the top here, but I'm not too worried about that. They can be refined on the plastic if we need to. I need to make molds for this and my little brass discs. For this I'm using Smooth-On's Mold Max 30. It's a nice durable silicone. It's got a really slow cure time, so that helps me as I don't have any fancy degassing chambers or vacuum chambers to help do any of this casting. I made some mold walls using cardboard tubes, which were then hot glued to the base. The pieces were also hot glued to the base, and then I just poured my silicone away. I didn't want any bubbles to hang around in the mold and be clinging to the mold and ruin all the casts. So in order to get bubbles out without using a degassing chamber or vacuum chamber, you have to shake the mold, and I came up with a little way to help shake the mold and shake all those bubbles free, and that was with my airbrush compressor. If you have an airbrush, you probably have either a shock compressor or, like me, a little one, and when this needs to fill up, it sort of shakes, you know. I'm sure there's a better example than that. Cut. There we go. But as the compressor shakes, it can vibrate the mold. So the only thing is I have to keep the compressor filling up with air. And to do this, I just have to keep evacuating the air. So I set up my airbrush with a little bit of tape over the action that was pushing out air and just left it running, and I left my compressor just chugging away. So now I've just got to liberate the master from here. I'm going to cut a zigzag down here and hopefully just pop him out. For the cast for this, I'm again using Smooth On because they are such fantastic products. I'm using Smooth On Smooth Cast 325. This is a transparent, fast curing resin. It sets up in about 10 minutes, so you've really got to work quickly. It's got about a 2.5 minute pot life before it gels and you're done. Because it dries clear, it means I can add a tint and we can get quite an accurate color match for the tint that I put in. For this, I'm using Smooth On's Uvo brand. These are their opaque tints, so when it goes in, it kind of goes like a milky color, but it will stay that color. It will not sort of go translucent like a bottle, you know. So I mixed up and poured my resin. I used way too much to begin with until I got the amount down that I need. But that resulted in these, which are my casts for the handle. These are turning out great. I've done a few so far. I need to do way more. I need to just sit down and do a session and cast way more so I can fill up all the handles I need for these kits. But these are great, they're a great color. I've not done any cleanup work to any of these as of yet. I think they'll sand really nicely and polish up great. I may even throw a few coats of paint on there to change the color ever so slightly and weather these down. We'll be doing some good weathering passes to these later on. I'm also cold casting in brass, the little discs. I had my masters printed by Shapeways in brass, which are gonna go in my final one. You'll be able to order them from Shapeways as well if you want to put brass ones in yours. But the kit will come with a cold cast set. Now I do the same thing as I'm moulding the handles. I do these as well because it's only a tiny bit of resin that needs to go in here. But before I start, I brush these little moulds with brass powder, get the inside all coated, tip out the excess and save it for later because this stuff is expensive. It's also very dangerous. Really don't want to be breathing it in. It's so bad for you. It's really microfine metal dust, and as that sounds, it is awful for you. But I just set it all up, and once I've poured my handle, I pour what's left over into the little moulds and fill these up. Now they look a dull, horrible green color at the moment. Once you polish them up with some steel wool, you should get a nice metallic shine. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the Imperial Field Knife project. Imperial is so hard to say when you say it in a sentence. Imperial Field Knife. Imperial Field Knife. Imperial Field Knife. Imperial Field Knife. No. Anyway, thank you for sticking around so long in this video, and because you stayed till the end, I'll leave you with a little treat, which is the packaging for this project. Yes, it's got its own custom packaging. It's gonna be a product. It's gonna be a proper product, and I'm so excited. I will update you on this project soon, and of course I will see you in the next one, and until then, take care. Bye-bye. Look, it's a product. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's so cool.